Here's what's coming up on today's show.
But I do understand there's people out there that are working that are just counting down the days till they're done working. But you got to have a plan. As I said before, I'll put a plan together for your money, but you need to put a plan together for your time and how you're going to keep it occupied.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Quote of the week here, Mark, and I'm certain that you can appreciate this one. It's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well." Make a difference, in other words.
I think that's important, but I think it's also important to try to be happy, too. I think if you're not happy, I don't know how good of a life it's going to be. That's kind of sad.
And if you're contributing to the world in such case where you leave it in better shape than it was when you came into the world, maybe you can feel good about whatever thing that you have done to contribute to society in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about some things that are considered to be conventional wisdom. It's not always so wise. Sometimes there are exceptions. Let's discuss a few examples where financial conventional wisdom might lead you astray. First of all, there are folks who say, all the time, you hear it in conversation. You hear it in conversations between parents and their kids and this sort of thing. You can't go wrong with real estate. That's true for the most part, but sometimes that may not be quite accurate.
Yeah, it depends on how long you hold your house. I mean, you have to have a place to live. So if you're purchasing a home, it should appreciate over time, but I feel there's better investments out there than real estate. There's some obviously challenges with real estate. So if you're buying rental properties, and I have clients that have rental properties, some that have done well and some haven't. I think where you can get in trouble is interest rates being higher, and then if it's an investment loan, it has a higher rate, even higher than an owner-occupied rate. And so if you have a mortgage, sometimes the numbers aren't going to work from what you're going to get in rent versus what you're paying on your mortgage payment, plus you have property taxes, insurances, upkeep, all those sorts of things. So, and then you have the work, unless you hire a property management company, which typically takes like 10%, which cuts into what you're making. Some people in retirement don't want to be, coming and fixing a toilet when it breaks, because that's the reality if you have rental properties, unless you're paying another company to handle it for you.
What do they say? Toilets, tenants, and turnover.
Yeah. And well, that's the other thing too. If your house is sitting, empty and you don't have it rented.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people through COVID learned that, where you're not getting any rent, you still have to make your mortgage payment. So you still have to pay taxes and insurance and all this other stuff for upkeep. So, we have those conversations. Some people decide to do it. Some people don't. So you have to understand the pros and cons in doing it.
Yeah, and another thing that comes up on the show a lot, and it comes up in everyday conversation with folks, there's good debt and bad debt, and a mortgage is good debt. Is that always the case, Mark?
Not always. I mean, it depends on what your rate is. If you're lucky enough to have a mortgage rate from years ago where you're in the 2 to 3% range, good for you. That's great. If you go get a mortgage now, even for an owner-occupied, you're in the closer to the 6s and 7s, which is obviously higher, which, historically speaking is not terrible, but a lot of people feel it is because they were used to such low rates. I don't think we'll ever get back to those rates. And if you're buying investment properties, it's even higher because there's more risk because it's not your owner-occupied property. So, we have this question when we do planning for people. If they have a mortgage, do they want to pay it off, prior to retirement or at retirement? It all comes down to cash flow. I mean, I can show you financially and what the numbers look like, and sometimes it makes sense to keep it, but what it really comes down to is peace of mind. Some people don't want a mortgage in retirement, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but where are you going to get the money from? If you're taking it from retirement accounts, then you're paying taxes on that money that you're using to buy it down or pay it off, and you still have property taxes, insurances, and upkeep of that property as well, so your bills don't go away. You still have expenses.
Conventional wisdom has seemed to be, for a lot of folks, retirement is a chance to relax and do nothing after working hard all these years and after an exhausting career. But that's not always the case for folks. A lot of people are really active after they retire.
Yeah, depending on when you retire, you got to stay active because you got to keep your mind and body active. So, a lot of people don't just retire and do nothing. Sometimes they'll do something different, or maybe they slow down at work, or maybe start a business or whatever it might be, or maybe they're just going to travel and do the things they couldn't do while they were working, which all these things cost money, by the way.
Yep.
So everybody's got a different vision. As I've mentioned before, I don't see myself ever fully retiring. I enjoy what I do, but I do understand there's people out there that are working that are just counting down the days till they're done working. But you got to have a plan. As I said before, I'll put a plan together for your money, but you need to put a plan together for your time on how you're going to keep it occupied. And like I said, travel is a big one, but you can only travel so much at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and that costs money. And eventually, you won't be able to travel, because physically you can't. So
I would guess that most people spend more money on Saturday than they do any other day of the week. But after you retire, every day is Saturday, so it can get
That's
really
true.
expensive.
But I mean, with online shopping now and Amazon and stuff like that, a lot of people, I think, are spending money all the time now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with your phone, you can go on and just order things.
That's true.
You don't even have to leave the house, right? Or leave work.
They make it really
You have
easy.
an internet connection, right?
That's right. You're listening to Saving with Silverman with Mark Silverman. I'll tell you how you can get in touch with him in just a moment here. But, conventional wisdom has always seemed to be that if your investments aren't currently doing well, try something else. Is that always the case?
Not necessarily. I mean, and obviously we've had a lot going on this year. I mean, with the tariffs, the markets took a big hit, but now we're back reaching record highs again. So if you're working with an advisor, they should have kept you in the market and not let you sell. But if you're doing it yourself, hopefully you didn't do anything to get out. And if you've already gotten back in, great. If you didn't do anything, you were better off. So it's important that you're working with the right person. But for a lot of people, I mean, if you're holding on and you're doing investments the right way and having a globally diversified portfolio like we recommend, you're doing very, very well the last couple of years. And so you can't complain about that. So I don't see anybody that's looking for other opportunities. But, a lot of people like to try different things, and some work, some don't. But with your serious money, you should be working with a professional, so you don't delay your retirement any further than it needs to be, or you don't disrupt what you're doing and harming yourself and your family.
A lot of people out there are making a mistake by trying to time the market, and the only problem with that is
It doesn't work.
You gotta know when to get in. You gotta know when to get out.
Yeah, it's like picking lottery numbers, but
Yeah.
you got to pick them right twice.
Exactly.
So yeah, timing doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's time in the market, not timing the market, as we've said.
Mark, I know a lot of people out there listening to the show may have listened to you for a long time and just haven't made that phone call to your office. What's that very first conversation going to be like?
Well, we're coming to the end of summer, so it's really an opportunity, and a lot of people reach out the first time. Some people said, I've been listening to you for years, and now it's time. But, it's really just having a conversation, answering any questions you may have. I'll do my best to answer those. I'm certainly happy to discuss how we work with clients, the services we provide, and how we do things. I think, as most people probably are aware, I'm a certified financial planner professional, so we're on the advice side. We're not here, like everybody else on the radio, pitching products, specifically annuities and complicated life insurance products. We really are providing advice and helping people. And so it's a totally different approach than what everybody else is offering. So, to each their own. But anyways, I'm just here making myself available to have a conversation with you. We start off with a 15 to 20 minute phone call and then go from there if need be.
It's a comprehensive approach to retirement planning, and he's not going to try to push any products off on you or sell you anything. None of that. Just get to know you at first with that 20-minute complimentary call. 520-333-7601. You can call or text today just to make sure that Mark has your phone number, and you can text if you don't want to call. Just your name and phone number. That's what's important, and the good folks at Silverman & Associates will get back with you and set a time for you to have your conversation with Mark. 520-333-7601. And you will be on your way to the True Wealth Financial Life Planning process. But you have to reach out. You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601. Or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.